Document libraries in SharePoint are the modern-day equivalent of the old shared file folder that many of us used to have up on a file server. But this is a lot better. Because it's in SharePoint, it's easier to control access to these files, it's easier to view these files, and it's easier to see what files you have. Here at a glance in this document library, we can tell the type of file based on these icons over here on the left. The name of the file is listed here. If it's a recently added file, you can see it says new behind it, the date that it was modified, and who's worked on this file over here on the right. Those little colored dots are presence indicators. If you're using Microsoft Communicator or Link, that indicates those people are available or not. It's easy to add files to a document library. One way is to click on the Add Document button down at the bottom. And I should say that there's a multitude of ways that you can add files to a library. I'll cover those in a separate quick clip. But right here, we're going to go into Browse and choose the file that we want. And pretty much any type of file can be added to a document library. We say OK. And now we've added that crazy proposal right there to our document library. There are some actions we can take on these files. If I click this drop down to the right of the file name, I get a menu. I could go in and view the properties, edit those, look at it in the browser, edit it in Word. Lots of different actions that I can take right there on that file. Many Office documents can be viewed directly in SharePoint. If I click on the file name, you can see that I can open it up and take a look at it right there from within SharePoint. If this list of files becomes long, I can work with it by clicking on the headers up at the top. I could sort those in ascending or descending order. And when you've applied a sort, you see a little arrow there indicating that I've sorted this one way or another. I can also filter these lists of files. If I come up to the header again, I can filter by author over here. I want to filter for Molly Clark. And I want to filter by type. So let's filter over here by Excel file. So now I can see at a glance everything Molly Clark worked on. That's an Excel file. If I want to clear those filters, I can click up at the top again, go in and say clear that filter. Another way that I like to clear filters is to go back to the Browse view here, go to All Documents in my navigation path and say All Documents View, and that turns off the filters as well. Now if you want to work on documents in a document library, you can click on the tab up at the top that turns on that ribbon with different actions for working on documents. If I select a document, I choose it by clicking on the check mark on the left-hand side, and then different options light up in the ribbon that I could do. I could edit that document, or I could edit the properties, or I could delete that document. I can also select multiple files by choosing multiple check marks down at the bottom and delete several at once, or check out several at once. If you want to select everything in the list, click on this checkbox at the very top of the list, and you can see that now I've selected everything in my document library. Uncheck that box up at the top to deselect everything in my document library. If you want to delete a file, you can check it over here on the left, come up to the top, click on the Delete Document button. It says, are you sure? We are sure. Now we've deleted that. If I want to send a link to this file in this document library, I can click on Email a Link up in the ribbon. It opens up Outlook, and now I'm going to send a link to that particular file in this document library. If I want to do work on the whole library, I can click on the Library tab up here on the right. And now I have slightly different actions that I could take. I have different views that I could choose up here on the left-hand side. I could email a link. In this case, if I click on that, it'll email a link to this library instead of just a particular file. And over here on the right, I have the option of changing some library settings. Now this is only available if you have permission to go in and change these settings, but if you do, there's a lot of things that you can change in how a library works, what it keeps track of, the type of data you can put in there. You can even change the columns that are displayed, the sort order, and the standard views that you get when you go into that document library. One simple little thing that I like to point out is if you've accidentally deleted a file and you wish that you hadn't. Has that ever happened to you? Well, in SharePoint, I can go over here to the left, in the lower left-hand corner, and click on this Recycle Bin. What a great idea. And there I can select the file that I want to bring back and say Restore Selection. And if we take a look here in our document library, we can see that that proposal has been brought back from the trash. So that's nice. I can make a mistake in SharePoint and pull it back out of the trash. That's been a look at document libraries, a key place to store files in SharePoint 2010.